The club was loud, pulsing with bass, the air thick with sweat, and the scent of spilled drinks. That's when I saw her. She didn't belong here. Not in this club, not in this city, not on this planet. Her presence had a gravity to it, like she was the center of a solar system I hadn't realized I was orbiting. Her skin had an iridescence that shimmered under the neon lights, subtle but unmistakable, shifting between shades of deep violet and silver. Her eyes, a bright crystalline blue, locked onto mine from across the room, and then she started walking toward me. Now don't get me wrong, I've had my fair share of strange nights. But when a statuesque alien woman, dressed in something that looked halfway between royal regalia and club attire, stops in front of you with a confident smile, you pay attention. You are human, she stated. Not a question. Just a declaration, like she had confirmed the color of my hair or the fact that I was breathing. Yeah? I answered, unsure if I should be flattered or worried. She tilted her head, considering me. That is acceptable. Glad to hear it, I shot a look toward the bar, half hoping one of my friends would rescue me. No such luck. Then, before I could process what was happening, she reached out and pressed 2 fingers to my forehead. A tingling sensation rushed through me like a static. Charge. It is done, she said, a note of satisfaction in her voice. I blinked. What is done? She beamed. Our bonding, of course. I choked on my drink. I'm sorry, our what? She gave me an exasperated look as if I was being deliberately difficult. I have chosen you. You are my mate now. I laughed. It just slipped out. Maybe it was the absurdity of the situation, or maybe it was the way she said it, like this was a completely normal thing to spring on someone in a club. Okay, princess, I said, playing along. And what if I don't want to be your mate? Her brow furrowed, as if the thought had never occurred to her. Why would you refuse? You are fortunate. Many would beg for this honor. I stared at her, trying to gauge if she was joking. She wasn't. Look, I started, rubbing my temple. You're gorgeous, don't get me wrong. But humans don't just bond with someone after a 5-second conversation. She seemed genuinely puzzled. Then how do humans choose their mates? Usually we date first, get to know each other, maybe go to dinner. You know, normal stuff. She nodded slowly, as if filing this away as some kind of alien knowledge. Then we shall date. I sighed. That's not... Never mind. Who are you, anyway? She straightened her spine with an air of regal authority. I am Virelian Shiara Vastiranel, first daughter of the Vastiranel line, heir to the celestial throne of Xanthia. I stared at her. Right. That explains a lot. And you are, she prompted. Jace Carter, I said, still trying to process what was happening. Jace, she repeated, as if tasting the name. Then she smiled. A strong name. You will make an excellent mate. Still not your mate. She waved a dismissive hand. That is irrelevant. The bond is sealed. I opened my mouth to argue, but then stopped myself. This was either some kind of elaborate prank, or I was dealing with an actual alien princess who thought she had just claimed me as her life partner. Either way, I needed to figure out how to handle this. Okay, Giara. Virelian, she corrected. Right, Virelian, I amended. If we're going to do this whole dating thing, we should start with something simple, like coffee. Her eyes lit up. A human courtship ritual. Yes, I accept. Great. Tomorrow. Noon. She nodded, clearly pleased. Then, without warning, she leaned in and pressed a brief but intense kiss against my forehead. I felt that strange tingling sensation again, and when she pulled away, she looked triumphant. Now it is doubly sealed. Fantastic, I muttered. She smiled at me one last time before turning on her heel and striding out of the club, leaving me standing there, completely stunned. The next day, I arrived at the cafe 10 minutes early, half convinced she wouldn't show, but then the door swung open, and in she walked, drawing every eye in the place. She was dressed more casually today, though even in simple human clothes, she still had an undeniable presence. She spotted me immediately and made a beeline for my table. "Jace," she greeted warmly as she sat across from me. "You actually came," I said, more to myself than her. "Of course," she said, as if the idea of standing me up was incomprehensible. "I wish to understand human customs. I will not fail in my courtship." I ran a hand through my hair, trying not to laugh. "You know, dating isn't supposed to be a test." "Then, how does one measure success?" I leaned back, studying her. "I guess, if both people are having fun." Her expression softened, and for the first time she looked almost shy. "Then I hope to succeed." I hadn't expected that. Beneath all the confidence and royal declarations, there was something genuinely sweet about her. Maybe this wouldn't be such a disaster after all. I picked up my coffee and smirked. "All right, princess, let's see where this goes." The moment I sat down across from Varelian at the cafe, I knew I was in trouble. Not the kind of trouble that got you kicked out of a bar or fired from your job. No, this was the kind of trouble where an impossibly gorgeous alien princess had decided I was her soulmate, and nothing I said seemed to change her mind. She was already watching me expectantly, her crystalline blue eyes locked onto mine like she was trying to decipher every thought running through my head. "All right," I sighed, stirring my coffee. "Since we're apparently dating now, tell me something about yourself. What do princesses do for fun where you're from?" Varelian straightened, clearly pleased by the question. "As first daughter of the Vas Tyrannel line, my time is dedicated to training, diplomacy, and preparation for leadership. I have studied interstellar politics, battle tactics, and the histories of over 50 planetary systems." I blinked. "Uh-huh. And what do you do when you're not ruling an empire?" She tilted her head slightly, considering. "I do enjoy flight simulations." "Like piloting spaceships?" "Precisely." She smiled, a little too satisfied with herself. "I hold the fastest record in the Xanthian Royal Academy's advanced maneuvering courses." "That's actually pretty impressive," I admitted. "And here I thought you'd say, I enjoy ballroom dancing and sipping fancy wines." "I am also proficient in dance," she added matter-of-factly, "though I find many royal traditions to be tiresome." "Yeah, I get that, family. Obligations and all." She leaned forward slightly. "And what of you, Jace? What are your skills?" "Me?" I gave a half smirk. "I make a mean grilled cheese." Her brows knitted together in clear confusion. "Grilled cheese? You're telling me that with all your interstellar knowledge, you've never had a grilled cheese sandwich?" She shook her head. "Well," I declared, standing up, "looks like we're taking this date to my place." She studied me carefully, then nodded. "Very well." I lived in a tiny apartment. Nothing fancy. Just enough space for a guy like me. The moment we stepped inside, Varelian turned in. A slow circle, inspecting everything with the same intense focus she'd had in the cafe. "This is your dwelling," she observed. "Yep," I said, moving to the kitchen. "Not exactly a royal palace, but it does the job." She trailed a finger along my bookshelf, eyes scanning the spines. "You have many books. Do you favor reading?" "I used to. Don't have as much time these days." She nodded as if filing that information away. Meanwhile, I started making the sandwich. Bread, butter, cheese, simple, classic, perfect. Varelian approached, peering over my shoulder with obvious curiosity. "And this grilled cheese is considered a delicacy?" "Well, not exactly." I laughed. "It's more of a comfort food." "Comfort food," she repeated, as if trying to understand the concept. I flipped the sandwich in the pan, and the sizzle filled the air. "Yeah, you know, something warm, simple, and nostalgic." Something that makes you feel at home. She was quiet for a moment. I see. I glanced at her, catching a brief flicker of something in her expression. She was still poised, still elegant, but there was something softer about her now, something almost wistful. Do you miss home? I asked, before I could stop myself. Varelian's gaze dropped slightly. I do. I hadn't expected her to admit it. Before I could say anything else, the sandwich was done. I slid it onto a plate, cut it in half, and handed one to her. All right. Princess. Moment of truth. She lifted it with both hands, inspecting it as if it were a rare artifact. Then, with a regal sort of determination, she took a bite. For a second, she was utterly still. Then, her eyes widened. This is... She chewed slowly, her expression shifting to something dangerously close to delight. This is remarkable, I grinned. Told you. She took another bite, savoring it like it was the finest dish in the universe. I must bring this to Xanthia, she announced between bites. It would be a great diplomatic asset. I snorted. Yeah, nothing says intergalactic peace like a grilled cheese. She didn't laugh, though. She was still watching me, eyes gleaming with something unreadable. You are different from what I expected, she said suddenly. I raised a brow. How so? Varelian set the sandwich down carefully. I was told humans were unpredictable, that they were fragile and selfish, but you, she tilted her head, you are patient with me. You do not fear me. I shrugged. You don't seem all that scary to me. That made her smile. Then you are either very brave or very foolish. Probably a little of both. She studied me for a long moment, then, completely unprompted, leaned in and pressed a kiss to my cheek. I froze. When she pulled away, she looked satisfied, as if she had just completed some important royal duty. Okay, hold on, I said, rubbing the spot where she'd kissed me. What was that for? Humans place significance on gestures of affection, do they not? Well, yeah, but then it is logical that I express my admiration in a way that suits your customs. I let out a slow breath, trying to wrap my head around her reasoning. You don't do that with, like, every guy you meet, right? She blinked as if the thought was ridiculous. Of course not. You are my mate. I groaned. Still not your mate. Varelian just smiled, taking another bite of her sandwich. I sighed, staring at her. It was becoming increasingly clear that I was not going to win this argument. And maybe, just maybe, I didn't actually want to. The next morning, I woke up to a message from Varelian. Varelian, I require your presence today. I will arrive shortly. I blinked at my phone. My presence? Did she think I was some kind of royal advisor now? Before I could even respond, there was a knock at my door. I groaned, running a hand through my hair as I pulled on a shirt. When I opened the door, there she was, standing tall, regal, and looking every bit like she belonged in some futuristic palace, rather than the dingy hallway of my apartment building. Morning, Princess, I said, rubbing the sleep from my eyes. Didn't realize I was on your schedule. You are always on my schedule, she said smoothly, stepping inside as if she owned the place. I shut the door and turned to face her. She was dressed differently today, still elegant but more casual by her standards. A form-fitting jacket with silver embroidery, sleek black pants, and some kind of thin metallic cuffs around her wrists. She looked good. Too good. So, I said, stretching, what's so important that you had to drag me out of bed? I require your assistance, she said. With what? She hesitated. A human custom. I raised a brow. Which one? Dating. I nearly choked. What? Varelian clasped her hands behind her back, her expression as serious as ever. As you know, I have declared you my mate. Oh, trust me, I know. And yet, she continued, ignoring my interruption, I have come to understand that human courtship rituals are more involved. I gave her a look. Are you telling me you don't date people before claiming them as mates? Correct. She nodded. Xanthian courtship is based on genetic compatibility, social ranking, and familial alliances. Emotions develop later. That sounds wildly unromantic. She tilted her head. How do humans do it? I exhaled. Well, for starters, we don't just declare someone our mate and expect them to go along with it. We go on dates, get to know each other, see if there's a connection before making any big commitments. She nodded thoughtfully. Then we must date. I blinked. Come again. I will not be an unworthy mate, she declared. If dating is required to win your acceptance, I will prove my suitability. I stared at her. You're serious about this? Entirely. I ran a hand down my face. All right, fine. Let's go on a date. Her eyes brightened. Excellent. Where shall we begin? I glanced at the clock. Well, if we're doing this properly, breakfast. Taking an alien princess to a diner wasn't something I ever thought I'd do, but here we were. Varelian sat across from me, staring at the menu as if it were a complex puzzle. What do you recommend? Depends on what you like, I said. Sweet? Savory? Big portions? Small portions? She tapped her chin. I wish to experience the quintessential human breakfast. All right, I said, flagging down the waiter. 2 pancake specials, extra syrup. When the food arrived, Varelian examined her plate with careful precision. Then, slowly, she picked up the fork, cut off a bite, and placed it in her mouth. Her eyes widened. This is magnificent. I laughed. Told you. She took another bite, chewing thoughtfully. Humans truly excel in culinary arts. It is no wonder your species has expanded so successfully. I don't think pancakes are the reason we've made it to space, but sure. Varelian set her fork down, fixing me with a look. Now that we are on a date, I must ask you something important. I raised a brow. Go for it. She leaned forward slightly. What are your qualifications as a mate? I nearly spat out. My coffee. My qualifications? Of course. She gestured at me. I have told you of my royal standing, my skills, my accomplishments. It is only fair that you provide the same. I coughed, setting my mug down. Well, I'm not a prince, if that's what you're asking. I am aware. I rolled my eyes. Thanks for the reminder. Okay, let's see. I'm decent. At my job, I can cook. I pay my bills on time, most of the time, and I have a great sense of humor. She considered this. Are you physically capable? I frowned. You mean, like strong? Yes. I mean, I can carry groceries without breaking a sweat. Varelian tilted her head. Can you wield a plasma blade? No. Pilot a starship? Nope. Command a battalion? Varelian, I sighed. I think our definitions of qualified are a little different. She studied me for a moment, then nodded. Perhaps, but I find you satisfactory regardless. I chuckled. Glad to hear it. She lifted her glass of water. To our successful date. I smirked and clinked my coffee. Mug against it. To whatever this is. We spent the rest of the day wandering the city. I showed her a bookstore, where she browsed ancient human literature like it was a treasure trove. I took her to an arcade, where she somehow managed to master a racing game in under 10 minutes. She dragged me into a high-end fashion store, where she critiqued human tailoring with the precision of a military strategist. By the time the sun was setting, we ended up in the park, sitting on a bench while she watched the people passing by. Must admit, she said, her voice softer now, this has been enjoyable. I smirked. See? Told you dating was worth it. She glanced at me. It is strange. What is? Varelian hesitated, then said, I have always been prepared for duty, for responsibility. But today, I did not think of my obligations. Once. I looked at her, really looked at her, and saw something in her expression. Something rare. She wasn't just a princess. She wasn't just an alien from some far-off world. She was a person, figuring things out just like me. I exhaled. Yeah, I get that. She turned to me fully, her gaze sharp and unreadable. Jace, Then, without warning, she leaned in and kissed me. It wasn't just a peck on the cheek this time. It was a real kiss, firm and certain, like she had made up her mind about something. By the time she pulled back, my brain had short-circuited. What was that for? I asked, dazed. She smiled, satisfied. For confirming our compatibility, I groaned. Varelian, she held up a hand. You are still resisting, but it is of no concern. You will see the truth soon enough. I shook my head, exasperated. You really don't give up, do you? No, she said simply, and neither should you. I wasn't sure what that meant, but as she sat beside me, completely at ease, I couldn't shake the feeling that, somehow, this insane accidental romance was just getting started. The next morning, I woke up to 3 messages from Varelian. Varelian. I have made arrangements. Varelian. Prepare yourself accordingly. Varelian. I shall arrive in precisely 12 minutes. I stared at my phone, still half asleep. Made arrangements for what? Before I could even process the situation, another message popped up. Varelian. 11 minutes remain. I groaned, rubbing my face. Of course, she was counting down. Dragging myself out of bed, I quickly threw on some clothes and ran a hand through my hair. I was still brushing my teeth when the knock came, sharp, precise, like an official summons. I opened the door, toothbrush still in my mouth. Varelian stood there in what could only be described as royal combat casual, a fitted dark jacket with silver accents, matching pants, and knee-high boots that looked expensive enough to pay my rent 3 times over. Her eyes flicked to the toothbrush. You are not prepared. I spit into the sink and wiped my mouth. Prepared for what exactly? She held out a sleek, metallic device the size of my palm. Your formal introduction to my people. I froze. Wait, what? Varelian stepped inside as if I had already agreed. It is tradition, she said matter-of-factly. If I am to claim a mate, he must be introduced to my house. I shut the door and turned to her, waving a hand. Hold on, your house, as in your royal family, your whole species. Not the entire species, she said, tilting her head. Only those of noble standing who will be present at the gathering. I pinched the bridge of my nose. Varelian, you can't just spring this on me. I gave you a 12-minute warning. That is not, I groaned. What does this introduction involve? She held up the device. A simple transmission. A brief exchange of words. Okay, I said slowly. And if I say no? She blinked, as if the thought had never occurred to her. You would refuse the honor? I wouldn't call terrifying a planet full of aliens an honor. You need not be terrified, she said, waving a hand dismissively. You will be seen as an intriguing anomaly. Oh great, anomaly. Exactly how I want to be introduced. Varelian sighed, crossing her arms. Jace, if you are to be my mate, they must know of you. The way she said it, so simple, so absolute, made my stomach do something weird. I exhaled. Fine, but if this turns into an intergalactic scandal, I'm blaming you. She smiled. Duly noted. An hour later, I found myself standing in my living room, staring at the floating holographic projection of way too many alien aristocrats. They were all gathered in some elaborate hall, tall figures in regal attire, their shimmering eyes studying me like I was some kind of rare artifact. Varelian stood beside me, composed as ever. Esteemed members of the High Council, she announced, I present to you Jace Carter of Earth. A murmur rippled through the group. An older Xanthian male leaned forward, his sharp features scrutinizing me. This human is your chosen mate? Yes, Varelian said firmly. I resisted the urge to step behind her. Instead, I cleared my throat. Hi. Nice to meet you all. A younger female in the group leaned in, eyes glinting with amusement. Does he have any notable skills? I opened my mouth to answer, but Varelian beat me to it. He is adaptable, quick-witted, resilient. I blinked. Wow, thanks. He is also, she glanced at me, mildly reckless, but this adds to his charm. I frowned. Hey. An older woman narrowed her gaze at me. And what of his standing, his lineage? Varelian lifted her chin. He is of no noble house, yet his value is evident. The group murmured again, some looking skeptical, others intrigued. The same older man who had spoken first exhaled. It is unconventional. It is unprecedented, another muttered. Varelian straightened. Then let it be known, I stand by my claim. If there is opposition, let it be voiced now. The hall fell silent. I felt like I was on trial. Finally, the older man sighed. As always, you defy expectations, Varelian. He leaned back. We shall observe how this unfolds. With that, the transmission cut out. The hologram flickered, then disappeared. I let out a breath. Well, that was terrifying. Varelian turned to me. They did not reject you. I ran a hand through my hair. They didn't accept me either. They will. I looked at her. You sound really sure about that. She stepped closer, tilting her head. I do not claim what I cannot defend. Something about the way she said that sent a weird thrill down my spine. I cleared my throat. So, what now? She considered. Now, we celebrate. Celebrate? She nodded. It is tradition. I raised an eyebrow. Let me guess, some kind of grand feast with interstellar delicacies? She shook her head. We drink. I blinked. Drink? Yes. A customary toast to commemorate a significant event. I hesitated. Are we talking alien liquor? Because I don't know if my organs are built for that. She smirked. I procured a human option. Before I could respond, she pulled a bottle from a small satchel. Whiskey. Good whiskey. I grinned. You really did your homework. I take my duties seriously, she said. We sat down, pouring ourselves drinks. I lifted my glass. To whatever this is. Varelian clinked hers against mine. To an unconventional future. I took a sip, the warmth spreading through my chest. As I set my glass down, Varelian studied me, her expression softer than usual. You are uncertain, she noted. I exhaled. Yeah. I'm not exactly mate material in your world. She tilted her head. And yet, I chose you. I looked at her. She said it so simply, so confidently, like there was no question about it. I ran a hand through my hair. You really don't do things halfway, do you? No, she said, and neither should you. Something about the way she looked at me, like she knew something I didn't, sent a strange, thrilling sort of panic through me. Because, for the first time since this whole mess started, I started to wonder, what if she was right? The next morning I woke up to the soft hum of my phone vibrating on the nightstand. I groaned, rubbing my eyes, only to realize Varelian was still in my apartment. She wasn't in bed, though. She was perched on the window ledge, gazing out at the city, her back perfectly straight, her silver-tinted hair catching the early morning light. She looked like some kind of futuristic queen surveying her domain. Morning, I muttered, voice rough from sleep. She turned her head slightly. You slept for precisely 6 hours and 27 minutes. I blinked. That's weirdly specific, she nodded. Your body required rest. I allowed it. I sat up, stretching, glad to know I had permission to sleep in my own bed. She smirked. I am learning the importance of compromise. I snorted. That's what you call it? She tilted her head. Did you not say that in human relationships one must make concessions? I hesitated. I mean, yeah, but usually that doesn't involve monitoring my sleep schedule. I ensure your well-being. That's not, I sighed, running a hand through my hair. You know what? Never mind. What time is it? 7:42. Ugh. I flopped back onto the bed. Way too early. Varelian stood. It is precisely the time we must leave. I frowned. Leave for what? She clasped her hands behind her back. The first stage of your integration. I sat up slowly. Varelian, what integration? She blinked as if I had forgotten something obvious. You are my mate. It is only logical that you begin assimilation into Xanthian culture. I stared at her. You planned this? Of course. I threw my hands up. Varelian, you can't just keep springing things on me. You were given sufficient warning. No, I wasn't, I groaned. What does this involve? A series of trials. I paled. Trials, as in tests? Yes, a demonstration of your adaptability. I rubbed my temples. Varelian, I don't need to pass alien trials. I just need to survive my rent payments. She crossed her arms. Would you not say that cultural understanding is essential to strengthening our bond? I hesitated. Well, yeah, but then it is settled. She gestured toward the door. Prepare yourself. I exhaled. You're impossible. She smirked. Efficient. An hour later, I found myself standing inside a sleek, futuristic-looking building, one of the Xanthian embassies hidden in plain sight within the city. The interior was impossibly pristine, with metallic surfaces that pulsed faintly with blue energy. It was modern, but had an unmistakable otherworldly presence. Varelian led me to a circular room, where a group of Xanthians were waiting. One of them, a tall male with deep-set amber eyes, stepped forward. This is the human? Varelian nodded. He is my chosen mate. The man gave me a once-over. He appears unremarkable. I frowned. Hey, rude. Varelian simply smirked. You underestimate him. The man arched a brow. We shall see. I swallowed. See what exactly? He gestured toward a row of floating platforms arranged in a complex pattern. A simple test. If you are to stand beside Varelian, you must prove you can adapt to our world as well. Stared at the platforms. You want me to, what? Jump around on those? Demonstrate your coordination, he said smoothly. I exhaled. Of course. Varelian gave me an encouraging look. You are more capable than they assume. I wasn't sure if that was true, but I wasn't about to back down. I stepped onto the first platform. It hummed beneath my feet, slightly unsteady. Okay. No big deal, just balance. I jumped to the next one, only for it to shift mid-air. I yelped, barely catching my footing. Laughter echoed from the group. Varelian's gaze sharpened. Silence. The group quieted instantly. I exhaled, regaining my balance. Okay. Tricky. I eyed the next platform, anticipating the movement. This time, when I jumped, I adjusted, shifting my weight just in time. Better. I moved through the rest, gradually getting the hang of it. By the time I reached the end, I was sweating, but still standing. Varelian smiled. Impressive. The tall man gave a thoughtful nod, not entirely incompetent. Thanks, I deadpanned. Varelian stepped beside me. This concludes the trial. The man inclined his head. Perhaps this union is not as illogical as we assumed, I muttered. Glad to hear it. As we left the room, Varelian turned. to me. You did well, I sighed. Is every part of your culture some kind of test? She considered. It is, a means of proving one's worth. I looked at her. Do you have to prove yours? She hesitated, just briefly. But it was enough. I exhaled. You do, don't you? Her expression was unreadable. It is expected. I frowned. Expected by who? She looked away. My house, my people. Something clicked in my mind. She wasn't just proving me to them, she was proving herself too. I stepped closer. Varelian, you chose me. Are you sure it wasn't just to prove a point? She met my gaze. I do not choose lightly. There was something fierce in her eyes. Something real. My throat went dry. She reached out, brushing a strand of hair from my face. You doubt yourself, Jace, she murmured. But I do not. I swallowed. You really mean that? She nodded. Something shifted between us. She wasn't just some arrogant alien princess making a claim. She believed in me. And for the first time, I started to believe in it too. The city skyline stretched before us, bathed in the golden glow of the setting sun. I stood beside Varelian on the rooftop of my apartment building, the wind stirring her silver-tinted hair as she gazed at the world she had chosen to be part of. Everything felt different now, not just because I'd survived a series of bizarre, alien trials to prove myself, or because I'd somehow gone from an ordinary guy to the mate of an alien princess. No, what really changed was the way I looked at her, and the way she looked at me. There was no more tension, no more doubt. Just something unspoken that hung between us, thick and undeniable. She turned her head slightly, her amber eyes locking onto mine. You are quiet. I let out a slow breath. Just thinking. She tilted her head. About what? I hesitated. How much has changed? She considered that, then stepped closer. You regret it? The wind caught the edge of her cloak, making it billow slightly. She looked regal, powerful, yet there was something almost soft in the way she studied me now. I shook my head. No, I don't. Her lips curved into a knowing smile. Good, I chuckled. You sound relieved. She exhaled. I was prepared for resistance. You got resistance, I reminded her. She smirked. You were never a true obstacle. I snorted. Gee, thanks. She reached out, tracing a gloved finger along my wrist. The touch sent a strange shiver through me, not just physical, but something deeper. Varelian had explained it once. Xanthians weren't just about physical connection. Their bonds were deeper, tied to instinct and emotion in a way humans couldn't fully comprehend. And yet, standing here, feeling the way my heart pounded when she was close, I was starting to understand. I swallowed. So, what happens now? She met my gaze. We move forward. That's a pretty vague answer. She arched a brow. What do you wish for, Jace? I hesitated. What did I want? At first, this had been chaos. An alien princess claiming me as her mate, dragging me into a world I didn't understand. I'd spent so much time resisting, trying to make sense of it. But now, I wanted her. Not just as some cosmic accident. Not just because she'd declared, but because somehow, against all odds, we fit. I took a slow breath. I want to figure this out. Together. Something flickered in her expression. Something pleased. I expected no less, she murmured. I smirked. So I passed your final test? She laughed softly. You were never being tested. I arched a brow. Could have fooled me, She shook her head. The trials, the traditions, they were for them, for my people. But you? She stepped even closer, voice dropping to something almost intimate. You were mine from the moment I chose you. My breath caught. There was nothing uncertain in her gaze, nothing hesitant. Varelian didn't fall into things. She claimed them, and she had claimed me. Slowly I reached for her hand. Her fingers curled around mine, warm and steady. I exhaled. Guess that makes me the luckiest guy in the universe, she smirked. Obviously, I chuckled. Wow, not even a little humility? She tilted her head. Why would I need humility when I am correct? I laughed, shaking my head. You're impossible. And yet, she murmured, you would not have it any other way. She wasn't wrong. She wasn't wrong about anything. And as we stood, there, hand in hand, the city lights flickering to life below us, I knew this was only the beginning. A strange, wild, unexpected beginning, but one I wouldn't trade for anything.